I don't know if you are familiar with the DSA. They're called the Democratic Socialists of America. And in their handbook from 2020, it said that they should force a vote for Medicare for all on the House floor of Congress. They had enough votes to do it, the squad, and they could have they could have done that. When we proposed doing that, it was called force the vote. And the Democratic Socialists of America turned their backs on not only us, on their own members, on people who needed health care, but on their own handbook. They turned their back on, bent themselves in a pretzel like they worked for a corporate news organization, and lied about force the vote, and were nowhere to be found. What they did was they protected their favorite politicians who go to their meetings, like AOC. They protected them. Instead of pressuring them and demanding they stand up for people, they went along with the politicians. This is the DSA, and they shamed healthcare activists, people who were trying to get Medicare for all. They shit on publicly. Who do I mean they? I mean the leadership. So I was getting shit from the leaders of the DSA on Twitter all along. By the way, who is the leader of the Democratic Socialists of America? Do you have any idea who that is? Is it a man? Is it a woman? Is it a group of people? Who even knows? That's how anonymous they want to stay, because they're really not fighting for you. Well, the person who runs the DSA doesn't even have a Twitter account.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah. So that's someone who doesn't give a shit.
Well, not only
that's someone who cares about their position in the world and doesn't care about you. And do you want to say something, Kurt? Go ahead.
They didn't just turn their back on their handbook. They also made that embarrassing convention video that made them lose all credibility forever. So I'd say that anonymous person, I'm guessing, is not into democracy and probably not a socialist, probably some corporate something.
And again, this is the people who joined this organization. This is not about them. The people are good people, and their hearts are in the right place, and they often do good work. So sometimes. So this isn't disparaging the people who joined the DSA. I would even like to join the DSA so I could go to one of those meetings and tell them, but I bet they wouldn't even show up.
No, they'd kick you out. That's what they did. There was people who showed up to the Force the Vote rally from DSA Metro DC, and their leadership wouldn't hear anything about it.
Right.
They didn't want to participate, but the individual members showed up and helped.
So why do I bring up the DSA? Because the railroad workers just got screwed over by the Democratic Party. They're supposed to be the people pressuring the Democratic Party, and they do the exact opposite. So I'm going to show you again. Once again, here we are. They'll never make their... so there are members. So AOC considers herself a member of the DSA. So they're supposed to now kick her out of the DSA for voting to break a union strike. She's a strike breaker.
But she voted for it? I thought on her Twitter she was standing with...
No, she didn't. So they then tweet out, you tell me what you think of this. These people are such fucking lightweights who run this organization. It is unbelievable. Watch this. A follow-up statement from our National Political Committee on the rail contracts and how to build power for workers on the rails and beyond. For the full statement, follow the link. The NPC is organizing a mass call for members on the subject. How'd that mass call go? What the fuck? Railroad work, and watch what they leave out of their tweets. Railroad work is notoriously brutal. On call nearly around the clock, workers suffer regular, often fatal accidents due to the overwork and exhaustion, and yet the tentative agreement lacks any paid sick leave, let alone the 15 days demanded by rank-and-file workers. We condemn the move by President Biden and Congress to force over 100,000 rail workers to accept the TA by denying them the legal right to strike. Our ultimate leverage is workers under capitalism. Just the Biden administration? They only condemn the President Biden and Congress. Oh, and Congress. Okay. The members are the union, and the majority of members voted to reject the TA. Socialist electeds, that's meaning like AOC, must stand with unions when they reject a TA. The votes to defend workers' rights to strike was an opportunity to further organize the public in solidarity with the rail workers. And they didn't do it. They voted against the rail workers. DSA members in office must use their position to advance labor long before bills even make it to the floor. This week's attack on working class self-determination should serve to remind us that our power comes from organization, and our own agency is our workplaces and communities. Only workers can build militant. These motherfuckers say militant. These motherfuckers are the biggest lapdogs to power in the fucking world, and they're going to use a term like militant. These motherfuckers. Again, I'm not talking about the members of DSA. A lot of good members of DSA. Only workers can build militant rank-and-file reform movement strong enough to win strong contracts. Guess what part they left out? This is the part of their statement they didn't tweet. We are proud of DSA member Representative Rashid Tlaib's vote against the TA. So she voted that the one. So now remember they have the rotating villain? Now they have a rotating hero. Any vote by Congress to impose a bad contract on workers sides with the boss and contradicts democratic socialist values. They all voted for that except her. So Rashid Tlaib, the only one who didn't. Everyone else voted for that. Are you going to condemn them? Are you going to kick them out of DSA for siding with the boss over the worker? We disagree and are disappointed. They don't condemn them. They don't kick them out of their organization. They don't tell their people to stop donating to them and don't vote for them anymore. They just say that they disagree. And they are disappointed with the decision of DSA members Alexandra Ocasio-Cortez and Representative Cori Bush to needlessly vote to enforce the TA. Now, why did they only say... so maybe Jamal Bowman's not a member of the DSA, but these are. Is that it? So they all voted for... Well, Mark Pocan didn't vote for it. So that's what they say. They disagree and they are disappointed with the decision. They don't condemn them. They don't kick them out of the organization. They don't demand that they show up at their next DSA meeting and answer questions. They don't do fucking anything. If in one line you acknowledge that the unions representing the majority of all workers rejects the deal and say Biden sold out workers, but then can only muster we're disappointed in regards to DSA officials voting in line with Biden's ass, then you have no actual power or control.
Well, they're going to move AOC to the left gradually.
We got to move AOC to the left. So this was right underneath their... By the way, nobody replied to their tweet. They got like maybe 400 likes on their stupid tweet apologizing for not fucking doing anything and pretending they did. They got like they have how many hundreds of thousands of members? They got 400 likes. So again, this isn't me. This is their own membership that is sick of them. The leadership of the DSA. So this Zev asks, will congressional electeds attend the meeting? Because they said, hey, we're going to have this meeting, this huge call meeting. Are they going to attend the meeting? DSA didn't respond. Not only did they not respond, they tried to bury this. The next guy says, I am a dues-paying Democratic Socialist member, and I would like you to answer this guy's fucking question. Will you be unendorsing national electeds and removing them from their roles? If not, this is nothing but air. That's what
they didn't do it.
Go ahead.
They didn't do it when all those electeds like Jamal Bowman and AOC voted to send millions and billions to Israel, to Netanyahu. They just issued the same little sentence long rebuke of their actions, and that was that.
That's because the DSA, not the members, the DSA's leadership completely there to funnel revolutionary progressive energy back into a pro-war, anti-worker party, and they don't give a fuck. They're completely corrupted. Whoever is in leadership of the DSA, 100% corrupted. 100%.
Do you remember in Life of Brian, the Judean People's Front that hates the People's Front of Judea?
No, I don't remember.
Life of Brian has a lot of stuff in it that is really
prescient. I know. DSA should stop supporting these electeds who voted against workers and remove them from your organization. You are simply not a socialist if you vote to break a strike. This is the fundamental issue with the DSA's electoral strategy that blows me away. They have zero actual control over the very electeds they cherish. The DSA endorsement is functionally meaningless if they can fuck over people like Palestinians and union workers without consequences.
He's saying they're even lower than whatever the Kyle Kalinske thing was called. What was their what was his thing that was like the DSA?
He was saying that they're not corrupt. Because he made any
his group, the
Democrat. Oh, the Justice Democrats.
That's right, the Justice Democrats.
The DSA is a sham organization funneling people back into the Democratic Party, says Reggie the Don.
Yeah, clearly.
Anyone paying this organization that will fight against their rights is a special kind of stupid. I'm not saying they're fighting against their rights, but when you protect politicians who are fighting against my rights, I guess you are by proxy fighting against our rights.
Do they have like an auto renew for membership where like a bunch of people just forgot and they're just being...
That's why I can't get off the Young Turks thing. I'm still signed up to them.
Because I'll bet a bunch of people because you're only seeing like 40 likes.
I got to cancel my credit card. Got to get rid of all that shit. Psychology Today I'm still paying for. What the fuck?
There's an app that'll kill all those. Psychology Today.
$9.95 a fucking month I'm paying. I can't get rid of it. When the DSA, this is Center for Incremental Progress, when the DSA-backed Democrats are getting schooled by Ted Cruz on labor issues, perhaps it's time to reevaluate the state of the left. You think? So here's what AOC said. Railroad workers grind themselves to the bone for this country as their labor produces billions for Wall Street. They demand the basic dignity of paid sick days. I stand with them. No, you didn't.
I vote against them.
However, I vote against them, but I stand with them.
I have support unions written on the ass of my dress.
If Congress intervenes, it should be to have workers' backs and secure their demands in legislation. And if they intervene to screw them, I guess I'll vote for it anyway.
I guess you're going to be disappointed, DSA.
So here's what Ted Cruz says. For that reason, I voted to increase the number of paid sick days for rail workers. Unfortunately, the Senate rejected that measure, so I opposed the final. Ted Cruz voted against it. She voted for it.
And Marjorie Taylor Greene, too.
Marjorie Taylor Greene out-lefted AOC on the railroad strike.
I mean, it's got to be on purpose. How could it be? How is that? That's got to be like the people that are the bad people are going to be for this.
She says that what they did was perfectly reasonable. This is the best we could do with the hand we were dealt. No, you're supposed to not vote for it. You're supposed to stand up against it, like Rashid Tlaib did.
Wait, WH? Does that mean the White House?
The White House sprung this on us, and we had a withdrawal of 24 hours to secure sick leave when they had the votes locked to pass it with no changes.
Oh, well, will that affect Biden's A- grade from the AOC?
Taking wasn't an option because of GOP vote. No, she's just gaslighting you. This is all lies.
Isn't it funny, despite how much access journalism people like Ryan Grimm do, who she's replying to right there, or, cucked politics like the DSA does, these politicians still don't do anything for them. It doesn't work. Why do you keep doing this? The one time we got even close to doing anything right was when you brought up force the vote and we actually applied pressure. That was the only time.
But you want to end up some isolated loser like Matt Taibbi?
Right? The Dems who voted against forcing the tentative rail workers agreement. So these are the ones who voted against it. There's Rashid Tlaib. Mark Pocan, so he must be in a tight race coming up or something. I wonder why he would do that. Judy Chu, my former from Pasadena. We should get Judy Chu on the horn. Ask her why she voted against it. Democrat. Oh, Nina Turner. Huh? Nina Turner. She says Democratic caucus senators voting to not break the railroad strike. I wonder if she tweeted out the congressional members. You know, the ones who endorsed your opponent that you still call your friends and you lie for? Like those people. Senator Warren voted against it. Sanders, Hickenlooper, Gillibrand, and Merkley. Everyone else voted against the workers. So what Bernie Sanders could have done was put a hold on the bill. Because senators get to put a hold on the bill for a week they don't even have to give a reason. So he could have did that, and then Senator Warren could have did it for another week, and that would have given the fucking railroad guys 2 weeks to strike. And they would have won that strike in 2 days. That's why the government had to do this, because the railroad strikers were gonna win. It's amazing that Bernie Sanders and John Hickenlooper have the ability to vote for one bill and not vote for the other bill, yet AOC, Ro Khanna, Cori Bush, Ilhan Omar, Jamal Bowman, and Representative Jayapal voted for the bad bill and said it's the best we can do.
We can't read.
So, Bumpy Knuckles, he's from the DSA Labor Steering Committee. You want to hear what he had to say? This is their leadership at the DSA. Failed podcasters who post hot takes are ill-intentioned and do nothing to advance socialism. Hey, I'm a failure at a lot of things. Podcasting ain't one of them.
Unlike the successful DSA.
Oh, what about that successful DSA?
Not only are they respected outside even the craziest circles.
Kurt, your laughing is hurting. I'm sensitive.
I'm sorry, Bumpy. Is my laughing giving you a seizure?
It's hurting. I hope you didn't put on cologne. Did you put on cologne?
Please, can we keep the clapping to a minimum?
They also seek to stir up controversy and distract from meaningful discussion. Really? The people who, this is why the DSA sucks, because you have fucking cucks like this in leadership positions who don't know the first thing about revolution. They don't know anything about standing up to power. They don't do fucking dick. They worry about podcasters instead of politicians who just fucked over workers. You know who didn't fuck over workers? Failed podcasters. You know who did? You piece of shit.
Bumpy Knuckles.
Bumpy fucking Knuckles. Like you just failed them.
Like bumpy kneecaps.
This is the leader of the DSA. She's been the leader since 2011. Never heard of her.
Yeah, who is she?
That's what a great socialist leader. Never heard of her. Doesn't even have a Twitter account and won't fucking do a goddamn thing.
She get ratioed on every tweet.
Have you read her blog, whosvarted.com?
Her name is Maria Svart. Who's Varted?
Whojustsvarted.com to hear all the latest.
Steph, I don't know if you know, but she refers to herself as biracial.
No, she doesn't. No.
She refers to herself as biracial. She is biracial.
And biracioal's fart.
She is Hispanic, Steph. Just like
she's
you.
Not.
Just like you.
She's Latin eggs?
She is biracial. Steph is only racial. Show Steph.
Oh, yeah.
She's just racial.
That's on me.
Yeah.
And what is your
please half it up a little bit?
Is your racial Mexican 100%?
100% Mexican. Jimmy.
So she is biracial.
I could take just things a svart less racial than.
She's more white than AOC.
Anyway, I applaud her biracialness. What I don't applaud is the shit job she's doing of leading the DSA. I think that she's still the leader. I can't tell. I looked into it. I'm a bad researcher, maybe, so I don't know.
I've been looking. It's hard to find stuff on
It's hard to find out. Just Google who's the president of the DSA.
They
does it come out?
Is the DSA a real group even?
Does it come up
like
who's
doing
farted?
A great job, and that's why she still has it.
Does it come up when you Google?
Yeah, it was her. That's who I found.
So that's who they say. Never heard of her. She's never reached out to this show, especially during Forced to Vote, when we had a chance to get a vote for Medicare for All on the floor of the House, which is one of their stated goals from their fucking pamphlet from 2020. It's one of their stated goals.
It's like a Patriot Front kind of thing, I bet.
And then as soon as one of their goals could happen, they immediately started protecting politicians and abandoned people. That's what she does. Abandons people and healthcare activists. And now she's abandoned the railroad workers because she won't pressure fucking politicians. They'll never press because they're not there to pressure. What is the point of the DSA?
Exactly.
The point of the DSA is to take progressive revolutionary energy, funnel it into a pro-war, anti-worker party. They're fucking shit. And the people who are members of the DSA should fucking overthrow them. But they're not going to do that. What the fuck? Never heard of her. Go ahead.
They want their members to be protesting with the Netflix workers against Dave Chappelle rather than the railroad workers or the trucker convoy or anything like that.
Well, throughout her involvement in the DSA, she has stressed the importance of understanding how patriarchy, racism, and other structures of oppression intersect with capitalism. And that's just within the DSA.
You know, when you give Medicare for all to everybody, that means people of color also have Medicare for all. When you give a living wage to everybody, that means there are no people of color without a living wage. When there, as our friend Joe said, when there's no more poor people, there are no more poor people of color. So the way you attack these problems, I find, is to use divisive language right off the bat. Why do you want to divide people by the color of their skin or their sexuality? How about we fight a class war? That's what we're supposed to be fighting, a fucking class war that includes everybody.
Well, too many of the poor plebs aren't vaccinated and won't wear their masks, so they're not allowed in the DSA meetings, Jimmy.
Oh, I bet you're right.
You wouldn't be tolerated there.
I wouldn't be tolerated, huh? I'm double vaxxed. So, I'm vax injured. Oh, they wouldn't like that. That hurts their ears.
Yeah.
Don't talk about vax injury. That's bad talk.
It's negativity is what it is.
That's bad talk. Okay, so there's boy. The results they get are fantastic, though. She's getting fantastic results.
You can't argue with results.
You can't argue with results.
I never heard of them until
Trump won.
Yes.
And then as soon as Trump won the DS, and they screwed Bernie, their numbers ballooned up to like 100,000 members.
So is that at which point they were completely captured? It was around then?
And then immediately the who knows, the CIA, FBI, and all the corporate interests got
been around longer since the 70s.
They're completely compromised and corrupted.
Yeah.
If you're telling me they're not compromised and corrupted, come on the show and tell me. That's what I would say.
This chick gets to pretend
go on anybody's show.
I mean, come on, man.
I'm not questioning that she is. I'm sure she's half Hispanic or whatever. She's biracial, she said. So that means half, right? Bi?
I guess.
Right? Or bi means two? I don't know what bi means. Does bi mean?
Yeah, she's two racials.
Yeah. So I don't challenge the veracity of that.
It's just really like, you're going to lean into that as much like...
I would feel uncomfortable if I was that white.
Yeah, leaning into my biracial heritage.
Telling people to lean in that hard.
Oh, my God.
Anyway, all right, so there's the failed leader of the failed DSA who won't do a goddamn thing. Here's Bumpy Knuckles. So everybody...
Bumpy Knuckles.
So they're more upset about podcasters at the DSA than they are about the politicians who are fucking over workers. That's all you need to know about the leadership of the DSA. Hey, we're doing live stand-up comedy in Los Angeles, December 9th, 16th, 23rd, and 30th. And we're going to be in Tempe, Milwaukee, Minneapolis, Nashville. Go to jimmydore.com for a link for all those tickets. See you there.